Hello everybody, Toastbomb here. Today I'm going to be giving feedback on the UMG Halo tournament that just happened last weekend. Now if you haven't seen the tournament, I'll have a link in the description to their Twitch channel so you can watch the previous broadcast and check that out and watch it. There are some very high intense, awesome matches that went on there. But anyways, I'll be talking about stuff that I liked, stuff that I didn't like, and how I think that stuff could be improved. And then you guys down in the comments can add stuff of your own, what you like, what you didn't like, but make sure you provide how to fix those things, because if you just say something's bad, that's not very constructive feedback. We want constructive feedback here. We want to give actual useful information for these people so they can improve down the line if they do another UMG Halo tournament, which I'm not sure if they actually have announced it yet, but the numbers seemed pretty comparable to AGL, so I would assume we'll probably get another one down the line. So anyways, let's get right into it. We'll start off with the really obvious things that pretty much everyone is saying that I've been seeing around. Stuff like Astralis and Nins. Really awesome. You get to see how the team is communicating, all that stuff. Super, super cool. And then also stuff like the player cams. That's really cool. That helps you get to know, okay, this is what this person looks like. So it kind of puts a face to the name, so it actually means a little bit more and helps you sort of memorize who's who on the team. That kind of helps a lot. And also seeing the facial expression, all that stuff is pretty awesome as well. And then also stuff like a mic'd audience would be really cool as well, so when people get that sniper shot, you hear everyone awe in the crowd, and that's really awesome as well. But past that, I don't really want to say too much, because those are things that cost money and uses equipment that they probably didn't have available at the time or don't have available at all. So I don't really want to focus on that stuff, because it's pretty obvious. Yeah, we would all want a Jumbotron on the main stage that's like 50 feet by 30 feet or something crazy like that. Yeah, that would be awesome, but that's going to cost a lot of money. So I don't want to focus on that stuff. I want to try to focus on stuff that they could actually improve upon with the current equipment that they have. And I'm not really super familiar with the stuff they have, but I'm pretty sure the things I'm going to be saying now are things they could actually do with their current setup. Now, the first thing that I noticed when I was watching the stream, it's not a huge thing, it's just a little thing. It is the, I guess it's not really UI element because it's not user interface, but the little graphical elements on the screen that they add on. You know, like the player names and stuff. So the player names are hovering there on the screen, and I really do like the position and the look of those player names, but there's actually one problem with them with Halo. I'm not sure if they're the exact same ones in font and setup that they're using for Call of Duty, but when at least it comes to Halo, when you die and you're in the death screen, your teammates' little name, when you're viewing your teammates, that bar is white and is right where the player name is on the screen. So it's like white on white, so you can't tell who the person is kind of spectating when they're in the death cam, and you also can't tell what person you're watching because it's just completely like canceling each other out and just making this little blob on the screen. So again, I do like where that positioning is. I don't know if it could be scrunched down. It may look a little awkward if it was, and I think it may look a little awkward if it was up higher, so maybe a better solution would be put it in a corner, kind of like how MLG used to do it, and I think AGL did it too. I can't remember, but yeah, a solution that might work better is put it in a corner. That way that stuff doesn't get mixed up. And then also a lot of the maps are kind of white because of the whole Forge thing, so maybe have like a black outline around the text. That way if you're looking at a pure white wall, you can still read the names really easily. That could also be a solution to that problem as well. And then also another thing is that a lot of people don't know who is on what team and all that stuff, so color coordination would be really helpful. I think that's probably totally feasible. You know, it would take a little bit of extra preparation time. I'm assuming it wouldn't be that hard because they're already entering in the names individually, like before the match, and getting all that stuff set up and matching them with the monitors, so just matching a color with it probably wouldn't take too much extra time. But if they did have the time and the ability to do that, I think that would be a really helpful thing as well. That way you know, okay, this is where this person is. It's very easy to see, even though it is down in the right corner. Like you can see where the team name is. If you're on a smaller screen and it's kind of harder to see, or you know, just for ease of seeing. You just instantly see that blue color right where their name is or wherever the indicator is, and then it's just boom, it's right there. It's very, very upfront and easy. So even though it is a thing you can get around, it would make it a little easier to watch. And then kind of going along with that, team names under the names or somewhere else on the screen would be really nice as well. That way you know, okay, the blue team is Classic and the red team is Ambush. If you don't have those players and those teams matched up in your head perfectly, like where everyone is on what team and all that stuff, that would be really useful, because a lot of times they say, oh, Classic is doing this, and then it's like, well, which one's Classic? I don't know. You know, so that would be really useful as well. Again, that would take a little bit of extra preparation time, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities. Also, another thing that I particularly just really enjoy out of these events is the little interviews with the players and stuff, not necessarily like taking a camera out onto the stage, but just getting them into the booth and like taking place of one of the people and just talking. I really enjoy that, so if they could manage to do more of that, if the players were willing to do that or whatever, I think that would be cool, because I really do enjoy listening to these gods of Halo. It's really interesting to hear some of that stuff. So I really enjoy having a little more of those things where, like, Pistola for a while, he was in the booth. I'd really enjoy hearing stuff about that. That would be really neat as well. And then another thing that's sort of a UI sort of thing is the scoring of the teams for that match. They had it later in the day on Sunday, but I don't believe they had it there on Saturday, and that would be a really useful thing. I'm assuming now that they do have it, I don't know if there's just some technical stuff and they're planning on having that, but if that's something that they usually don't do and they just added that for Sunday, I definitely think that's a thing they should shoot for the future, because that is something that's really useful. You know, you can see, okay, Classic has 1 point, Warriors has 0 points in this match or whatever. That's really useful as well. And then also another thing that would be useful would be to have somewhere in maybe like small text, like say what this actually is, like loser bracket round blah. So if someone's tuning in, they know, okay, this is the finals, okay, this is, you know, this part of the match, or this part of the bracket or whatever. That would be useful as well, just so you get an idea of, alright, I know what is happening in this bracket and tournament and where these players are and what they're fighting for, if they're in the loser's bracket or in the winner's bracket or whatever. That could be a little bit helpful as well for the viewers. A few things that I did really like about the stream that I haven't really seen before, I don't know if it's something that they've just added or have always had or whatever, but the transitions between going from screen to screen were pretty awesome. I liked those little transitions where it was like that fade, like it kind of took a snapshot of whatever you're looking at and then faded. It was a little awkward when it's like people there and then it's going to gameplay, but I think it really worked well when it was switching from player to player, because it kind of gave your mind a little second to register, alright, he's switching. It wasn't just like instant switch. Sometimes you don't realize they switched and it's a little weird, but with that sort of transition, it's very apparent and easy to look at, like, yes, okay, this is transitioning to another person, and you get a feel for what is going on. It's not quite as snappy and hard to look at. So I didn't think that was like a big deal, but after I saw that, I was like, wow, that's actually pretty cool, and is actually a lot more comfortable to look at. So I really like that. Another thing I think they could improve on or add would be like the fly-ins that MLG used to do for every map. They had this little startup, you know, it would be the pit, and it would show, okay, the rockets spawn here, and it would be this little forged preset video thing that they would run before the actual match started. So you'd see, like, alright, that's where the rockets are, this is where the sniper is, it spawns every 2 minutes. They'd have a little thing, and they'd say it before, kind of quickly giving a brief description and summary of what you're going to be seeing once this match starts. That's really, really useful, because obviously, one, we have like all these forge maps, and some people could be coming in and having no idea what is going on, so having a little fly through, give you a little overhead view of what the geometry and layout of the map looks like would be really useful, and where the power weapons are, so you know what to look out for while you're watching would be really useful. And then also just existing maps that we are using, weapons are a lot of times in different places. Stuff isn't on random timers, it is on set intervals where the sniper spawns, where the rockets spawn, etc. And even spawn positions, like where the blue base is and where the red base is, changes on some of the maps as well. So I think some of that stuff would also be really useful if they could create some sort of little fly-through animation thing before the match starts that they could roll. Would be really, really helpful. And that would take a little while to create, but again, I don't think that's really out of the realm of possibilities with the equipment that they currently have. That is something they could potentially do with what they already have. And I know for me, when I was first watching in Halo 3, when I first started watching, that was really useful. Like, it was really useful. It's kind of weird to think back now, and it's kind of hard for a lot of people, or just anybody, to think back to, like, before they did all this stuff. Because, you know, I've been playing Halo, not, like, super high level, but, you know, pretty high level-ish for, like, 4 years now. So thinking back to when I very first entered into that, it's kind of hard to remember all that stuff, because it's just, I've known all this stuff for so long that it's just kind of become part of me, and you sort of forget about the old stuff. But that was just really useful, that those simple sort of little fly-throughs, like on the pit. Okay, the rockets spawn in Green Hall instead of where the rockets normally spawn, and there's no camo, but there's a custom power-up down there, and this is what the custom power-up does. Just little simple things like that actually made it a lot easier to watch. And you might not think that it's really that big of a deal, but it really helped me a lot, and it just made it a little bit easier to watch, which is really what most of my points are, is just little sort of things that they could do just to make it a little bit easier to look at and understand, and have a little more data on the screen about what is happening in the match, to allow people to understand what is going on without people having to explain it. But anyways, that is my feedback for UMG. I really liked it. It was really high quality. They had great casters. Bravo's awesome. All those people are awesome. Golden Boy, really good caster. Obviously, Ghostayame, really awesome as well. I would have liked to see the Maven Gotti combo. Who wouldn't? That is awesome. But, you know, they're AGL. We'll get more of them in the future, I'm sure. But anyways, that'll be it for this one. If you have a suggestion, some positive, remember, constructive feedback, give a reasoning and an example of how they could actually use this in the future, this idea that you have. If you have something like that and you want to post in the comments, feel free to do so. But anyways, that'll be it for this one. If you liked it, you can leave a like or a comment, or you could subscribe, because I post new Halo videos every day. Anyways, thank you for watching. See you tomorrow. Bye. And I look forward to more UMG Halo tournaments, if there are any in the future. But see you later. Bye.